What's good, everybody? This is your guy Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. Today, man, we're going to talk waiver wire week 3 acquisitions. Hopefully, this video helps you guys with your fantasy teams, help you guys get dubs in week 3. Some of you guys are 0-2, some of you guys are 1-1. It's all good. That's what this show is about. Hopefully, I give you guys some value, give you guys some players that can help you guys reach that next level, hopefully help you guys get a win. Let's go ahead and run this intro and get this show on and popping. All right, man. So week 3, well, this week 2 was pretty interesting. Plenty games. There's plenty guys out there that we left out there on the waiver wire because we didn't know, is this a fluke? Can this happen again? Is this real? Can this continue to happen? And the first player that's on my list of quarterbacks is Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz right now has done it 2 weeks in a row. Granted, I did call that he'll do this 2 weeks in a row. Yes, he played some mediocre defenses in the Jags and the Lions. Both teams give up a lot of points. Both teams' defenses aren't that good. So, with that being said, even though Washington sometimes starts off good and kind of fizzles out, in the fourth quarter, the second half, Carson Wentz has been good in both games. Carson Wentz is, I believe, number 2 in the NFL in total yards, well, passing yards. Carson Wentz is tied for number 1 in passing touchdowns. Carson Wentz has 7 passing touchdowns. Right now, he's hot. He's going against the Eagles. What does this tell you? This is going to be a revenge tour, a revenge game for Carson Wentz. He's going to want to play like the best he's ever played. There's a scenario where after week 3, Carson Wentz might be the NFL lead in passing touchdowns. He might walk away with 4 touchdowns again versus the Eagles. Now, Eagles obviously played better versus primetime Kirk Cousins and the Vikings yesterday, but at the same time, they gave up a whole bunch of points to the Jags. I mean, was it the Jags? I'm sorry. Who did they play week 1? Can't think of who they played week 1, but the defense was so bad. When it comes to me, I'll let you guys know. Oh, Eagles and Lions. The Lions were able to put up points. Yes, we've seen the Lions as a team that can put up some points, which I'm also going to talk about another quarterback, Jared Goff. Jared Goff is a good pickup this week. He's just a good pickup in general. When the season started, I saw Jared Goff as a solid QB2, especially in two quarterback leagues, but he's having some QB1 weeks. He's having some standalone value in one quarterback leagues. If you're dealing with an injury to Trey Lance or Dak Prescott, or you got Matt Ryan and you don't trust him, right? He's playing bad. You got Tom Brady playing bad. You got Aaron Rodgers playing mediocre. Jared Goff is a nice consolation prize. Jared Goff, Carson Wentz are 2 guys that people have overlooked. And in a lot of my leagues, I have Carson Wentz or Jared Goff as my number 2 quarterback to go with a guy like, let's say, Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes. So I have plenty Carson Wentz, what would you say, shares right now, and they're paying dividends for me because Carson Wentz is performing to an elite level. I think that Carson Wentz might be the number 3 or number 4 quarterback in fantasy football right now. Obviously, this pace cannot continue, but now that he's hot, you have to ride it out. You have to remember last year with the Colts, Carson Wentz was balling to start the year for those first 11 games. This was the Carson Wentz that we were able to see until things fizzled out. So Carson Wentz putting the claim for him, putting the claim for Jared Goff. Now, Tua Tagovailoa had a great game on Sunday. I don't know if this is the new Tua that we're going to be accustomed to seeing, but Tua was able to throw for 469 yards. 469 yards, 6 touchdowns. Now, obviously, I don't know if Tua throws again for 400 yards, but then he does have those wide receivers that have yak ability. So anytime you have a Tyreek Hill or a Waddle, you're going to get a whole bunch of yak just off of just throwing a little 5-yard pass. But anyways, So Tua, if Tua's available, put in that claim for him. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback the rest of the way. He's definitely going to have top 15 value. Tua is leading the NFL right now currently in passing yards, and it's just funny to me. It's crazy. The man had 6 touchdowns, 2 into Tyreek Hill, 2 into Jalen Waddle. It's amazing. I actually traded away Tyreek Hill in the league before week 1 because I didn't think the Tua was going to be able to feed these 2 guys. In week 1, Tyreek Hill got love. Jalen Waddle got love. Waddle got the touchdown, but Tyreek Hill still was able to get the targets, the catches, and the yards to be relevant in fantasy. So moving on, it seems like both of those guys are going to be heavily involved. The player that possibly takes the lesser role or the lesser upside or the lesser anything is the running game. The running game is going to struggle for Miami. It's going to be a bunch of different guys. I'm going to talk about the running game in the tight end group. But I'm going to talk about those 2 guys. One in the running back room, one in the tight end room. If you're looking for a desperation quarterback, you go ahead and grab Joe Flacco. You can laugh all you want to. Joe Flacco has outproduced the likes of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, some of these Matt Ryan, some of these other top-tier quarterbacks, or some of these quarterbacks that you think are going to be top 15. He has outperformed a lot of those guys. So if you're struggling, if you have injuries, or you have that one guy in your league that's hogging all the quarterbacks all on one team, right? You can go ahead and put in that claim, or you can even wait till waivers clear and pick up a Joe Flacco for free in the morning. Now, a lot of you guys lost Trey Lance. A lot of you guys were Trey Lance guys, Trey Lance truthers and fans, and you wanted him to do well because of the rushing upside, right? Trey Lance gets hurt. Believe it or not, Jimmy G is available. You can go ahead and put in a claim, or you can go ahead and get him for free when waivers clear. What I will say is that the 49ers offense is going to run a lot more smoother with Jimmy G. Go and buy guys like George Kittle. Buy George Kittle. Buy Brandon Ayuk. Buy Deebo Samuel. I think that Jimmy G is going to have that offense humming like it was last year when Deebo was, producing and Kittle was out here producing crazy numbers. It was because of Jimmy G. Granted, we didn't get to really see Trey Lance and what he really brings to the table because of injury, which is sad. But, put in a claim for Jimmy G or snag him for free. He's going to be available for you. Another guy that you might want to look at this week, if you're looking for a quarterback to stream, just in case you have a quarterback that has a terrible matchup and you don't want to play that quarterback. I benched Matthew Stafford, and I also benched Tom Brady, and I picked up Carson Wentz, and it worked out for me last week. So you just never know. Marcus Mariota is going against Seattle. These are 2 poor teams. These are 2 teams playing for top 5 picks next year. So Mariota might have a chance to go off on Seattle. Maybe this might be the game that you Kyle Pitts owners get love. Kyle Pitts has been terrible. I believe the guy has like under 50 yards for the entire season. So if you drafted Kyle Pitts super early, you're kind of pissed off right now. I think that Kyle Pitts eventually figures it out. But for right now, it's not looking good. And if you drafted Kyle Pitts in the top 3 rounds, your team is looking crazy right now because you were either lacking a running back or a wide receiver because you didn't go those premium positions early. So that's it for quarterbacks. There's tons of other quarterbacks out there, especially in 1 quarterback leagues, but these are just some of the guys that just kind of, came to me, and that would make sense for you. Now, with the running back position, there was a big injury this week, and that was James Conner. James Conner goes down. So what's your backup plan? Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams was a beast last year in Kansas City. Darrell Williams was a RB2. If you look at it, he was a top 24 running back last year. So he can bring that same kind of level of intensity to the Arizona Cardinals. Everybody says Eno Benjamin this, Eno Benjamin that. Eno Benjamin is just not as talented as Darrell Williams. I mean, Darrell Williams, he's done it. He's continued to do it. So when I was out there looking for handcuffs early on in the season, I picked up plenty of Darrell Williams and stashed them on my bench just in case James Conner gets hurt. Lo and behold, James Conner is hurt. So Darrell Williams last week, when filling in for Conner, had 59 yards and a touchdown. So just do the math. Figure out how many carries Conner usually gets with Darrell Williams getting that and also having that receiving upside. He has a chance to be a low-end RB1 or even a mid-tier to low-tier RB2. I definitely see top 24 potential in Darrell Williams if James Conner is to miss time, because in that offense they're going to run the ball. They love to throw it, but they're going to run the ball to a certain degree to where their running backs always get luck. You can go back and see Kenyon Drake. You can go back and see previous running backs that they've had in this system. I mean, James Conner was able to produce, 15 touchdowns last year? So the touchdown goal line carries upside is there for Darrell Williams. And then Eno Benjamin, if you're playing in a deep, deep league, I'm not really messing with Eno Benjamin, but he's out there. He's available if you want him. Mark Ingram, we don't know how long Alvin Kamara is going to be out. Mark Ingram was solid on Sunday, and he can be, solid moving forward. So if you're looking for running back help, pick up Mark Ingram because he's going to provide a level of upside for you, especially in that offense. They love to run the ball. And Mark Ingram, to be honest, surprisingly played so well on Sunday that I was like, is this the same Mark Ingram? I mean, you think he's getting older. He sounds like he's like 39 years old, but Mark Ingram is still very effective. Raheem Mostert, he seemed to be the best RB in that backfield for the Dolphins. Chase Edmonds is there, but I believe Chase Edmonds got hurt. Either he got hurt, but for some reason, Mostert was very, very, very effective. Let me go back and read what happened. I want to say he got hurt. I'm not sure. All right, it said in week 2 at Baltimore, Raheem Mostert operated as the lead running back for the Dolphins ahead of Chase Edmonds. Mostert led Miami with 11 carries for 51 yards, along with 3 catches for 28 yards on 3 targets. Edmonds had 5 carries for 33 yards. Now, if you were smart, you drafted some of Raheem Mostert on some of your teams, right? Because in that backfield, you felt it was anybody. I loved Sony Michel in that backfield, but they cut Sony Michel. So with Raheem Mostert, he's 30 years old. He's been in the NFL for 8 years. He's, if you can move a Raheem Mostert, sell him now. Sell him now that his value is high. Matter of fact, somebody in one of my other leagues sent me a deal for Raheem Mostert. They sent me J.K. Dobbins, and I took that deal so fast. Because even if Raheem Mostert becomes that guy in that offense, which with injuries, you just never know. Me getting J.K. Dobbins, yes, he's injured, but I can stash him in my IR, number one. Number two, if J.K. Dobbins comes back and does what J.K. Dobbins can do, I love the upside of J.K. Dobbins in a Lamar Jackson-led offense. So, yeah, Raheem Mostert, he's available because right now it seems like he's trending towards being the lead back of the Miami Dolphins. So I do like that. Jordan Mason is available. Davis Price got hurt, and Davis Price was operating as the number 2 running back in that San Francisco offense. We know that San Francisco loves to run the ball. Jeff Wilson's going to get the bulk of the carries, but if something was to happen to Jeff Wilson, Jordan Mason automatically becomes the favorite. Okay. Yes, they have Marlon Mack. It's also good to put in a claim for Marlon Mack or pick him up for free. He's going to be available. Have Marlon Mack. If you're playing Dynasty, just have him stashed just because you never know with San Francisco running backs. They do get volume, and whichever running back gets volume, and if you do start that guy, you will have a chance of lots of points because of the way that offense is structured. So Jordan Mason is going to be a cheap little addition that you can add, even for free after waivers clear. Last but not least, Brian Robinson Jr., okay? He's projected to come back week 5. Now, obviously, I'm not a doctor. Obviously, the people that are talking about this are not doctors. It's just wishful thinking. The earliest he can return, because he has to miss 4 games, so the earliest he can return is week 5. So you want to put in a claim or pick him up for free now. But if you are in leagues with me, just know that Brian Robinson Jr. is already on my team on the IR. I picked him up everywhere. I drafted him everywhere, actually. I drafted him with the very last pick, and then I stashed him on my team. So, yeah, Brian Robinson Jr., he's a beast. You want to get him now before the price goes up, okay? When he comes in, you see that the Commanders continue to struggle in the run game. Antonio Gibson is not a pure running back. So this is the time you want to go ahead and stash Brian Robinson Jr. I believe he can help you win your team, help you win long term. So Go ahead and snag Brian Robinson Jr. We move on to the wide receiving group. Now, Jahan Dotson has been out there. He's been out there since look, if you didn't draft him with the very last pick in redraft leagues, don't be sad. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us had a chance at him week 1. I passed on Jahan Dotson because I already had Terry McLaurin. Another guy I want you guys to pick up is Curtis Samuel. I passed on Curtis Samuel too because I have Terry McLaurin. But see, now I'm the one that's crying. I'm the one that's losing out. There would have been no, and also the reason why I didn't pick up Jahan Dotson or Curtis Samuel, number one, I'm a big Commanders fan, right? And in that league, they know my team name is Redskins, and it's been that way for the last 10 years. Having Terry, I already have Gibson, I already have Carson Wentz. It would have just been like just having a team full of homers, and then might as well go ahead and get Logan Thomas as well, right? That's the only reason I didn't pick up Jahan or Curtis, but right now I'm so mad because I could have picked up one of those guys, and then I could have still have traded Terry McLaurin, being that his name value is the highest out of all these other wide receivers, and then keep the cheaper guys, and then build my team that way. So I definitely could have traded Terry and kept Jahan and Curtis. That would have been the move, but I messed up there. But the Commanders' offense is humming right now, and you want to just ride it. You want to ride the wave until they cool off. Jahan Dotson is becoming a must-start every single week. Curtis Samuel is becoming even a greater must-start every single week. He's leading the team in targets just about every single week, and he's effective with his targets. He's getting he's getting the yards after catch. He's making plays. He's getting tough catches. He's getting touchdowns. He's scoring just about every single week. Jahan Dotson has 3 touchdowns the first 2 weeks, and Curtis Samuel has 2. So when you compare those two guys to Terry, Terry's not getting the targets. He's not getting the yards. He's barely getting touchdowns. But things are going to flip. If you do have Terry, hang on to Terry or trade him for the best value possible, which could be a RB2 right now, or maybe a slightly under elite tight end. That's the value for Terry right now. Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson is a guy that I drafted at the end. See, in redraft leagues, you want to draft these rookie wide receivers, which are very last pick. A lot of times people don't go high or they don't value these rookie wide receivers because you don't know which one is going to come in and ball out. And then you don't know when they're going to come in and ball out. You can have a rookie receiver on your team, and you're seeing tons and tons of veterans out there in free agency that are balling. So a lot of times you can't roster these rookie wide receivers just because of it's a waste of roster spot. But Garrett Wilson, oh man, if you have Garrett Wilson anywhere, you're winning right now. I even predicted that Garrett Wilson would have a better year than Elijah Moore. A lot of people called me crazy. I took a lot of heat for it on Twitter, but I mean, it is what it is. I love Garrett Wilson. The guy had 2 touchdowns. He had 14 targets, caught 9 of those. Just had a magnificent game. Let me read a little bit about Garrett Wilson and what they're saying about him. It says, I was anticipating that Joe Flacco would be the best, would have the best rapport with Elijah Moore or Corey Davis, given their history with the team last year. Flacco has leaned on Garrett Wilson the most through the first 2 games. The rookie has delivered, especially in week 2 when he had 12 catches, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns. On 22 targets this season. So in 2 games, he has 12 catches, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And the bulk of that was done on Sunday versus the Browns when he had 8 receptions for 102 yards and 2 scores on 14 targets, like I said earlier. When Zach Wilson comes back, I don't know if that makes Garrett Wilson better or worse. But one thing I would say about Garrett Wilson is that, to me, he was my rookie wide receiver 1 in this draft. I drafted him a lot in dynasty drafts and rookie drafts. I was drafting him in the top 3 picks of rookie drafts. Garrett Wilson has the potential to be this year's next best thing. When you see a Justin Jefferson or a Jamar Chase, I had Garrett Wilson in that same breath. I'm not saying that he's as talented as Justin Jefferson. I'm not saying he's as talented as Jamar Chase, but I had him as that guy that could be that next very talented rookie wide receiver. So go pick up Garrett Wilson if he's available in your leagues. he should be your number one waiver wire claim. That's how much I love Garrett Wilson. Michael Gallup could be back at any moment. He's a guy that you want to go ahead and put in a claim for or snag for free. Maybe nobody's really thinking of Michael Gallup right now. You grab him, you stash him, and then you kind of see when he comes back if he's going to be able to help that Dallas offense out. If he is, he's going to be a guy that can get you 100 yards on several weeks, or 5 to 6 catches on several weeks, maybe a touchdown or two every week, or sporadically. So Michael Gallup is a guy that you want to go ahead and grab now before he comes back and before he's healthy and he's doing his thing. Also, Jameson Williams from the Lions. I know that Amon-Ra St. Brown is balling out right now. He's going crazy, out of control. I get all that. But Jameson Williams is a whole nother animal, which is another reason why I'm telling you guys to grab Jared Goff as your number 2 quarterback if he's available. When Jameson Williams comes back, he has a potential to add to this talented wide receiving core as rookies. These rookies are really producing this year between Jahan Dotson and Garrett Wilson, Drake London. Treylon Burks is up and down, but Jameson Williams could be special if he's healthy. So he's a guy that you take a flyer on, you stick him into your IR, and he comes back. If he's that dude, if he's him, you'll know, and you'll definitely love that addition to your team. Another wide receiver to take a look at is Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers has 9 receptions for 95 yards in week 2. He's a guy that's a target monster. He's going to get targets. So in that offense, we were thinking Devontae Parker. If he wasn't, you're smart. A lot of us were thinking Devontae Parker is our number 1 wide receiver. As of today, Devontae Parker has been terrible. It's looking like Jacoby Myers is that guy. He's the number 1. And then you even have Nelson Aguilar, who had a great game. So that offense is not the best, but in terms of volume, you're going to be able to get some volume from guys like, Myers and Cope. So 99 receptions, 95 yards, that's solid. That's 18 PPR points. You can't beat that. 18 PPR points, I'll take that all day long. Only knock on Jacoby Myers is that he doesn't get touchdowns, but it's all good. Now, go scoop Russell Gage. This week, Mike Evans might be suspended. Matter of fact, as we speak right now, Mike Evans is doing an appeal with James Thrash. So we'll be finding out more results of this appeal if he was able to, appeal this. I think he's going to be suspended a game. And there's already no Chris Godwin. So you're looking at the number 1 wide receiver being Russell Gage, followed by Julio Jones. Okay, so it's going to be an interesting week, another week why you should kind of stay away from Tom Brady, but then another week to where you can trust Russell Gage one more time. You trust Russell Gage one more time. If Russell Gage cannot produce this week with the 2 top wide receivers being out, then you can just forget about Russell Gage moving forward. Dynasty, redraft, keeper, it doesn't matter what the format is. Last but not least, Greg Dortch is becoming a real thing. Through 2 games, the guy has 11 receptions for 118 yards and a touchdown score. Greg Dortch, he's going to be a thing, whether Rondale Moore is healthy or not, whether DeAndre Hopkins is healthy or not. They're really liking this kid, and he's producing. So Greg Dortch is not just a guy for now, but could be a guy for the future. So if you're playing Dynasty, snag this guy, keep him on your roster. Greg Dortch has been, getting 13 to 15 points weekly, and I'm going to ride him out one more time, especially if Rondale Moore is not available. Greg Dortch, guys. Tight ends. If you didn't draft an elite tight end early, your team looks pretty good right now. For those of us that took Andrews or Kelsey, we're celebrating. We're doing our thing. I took Kelsey a lot in the second round, and Kelsey's worth it. I think Mark Andrews is worth it. Anybody else outside of those 2 guys, Darren Waller has been up and down. He had a better week 2 than he did week 1. George Kittle has been out, hasn't even played a game yet. Dalton Schultz, a guy that I felt would be a legit guy. He didn't play, I mean, he played, but then he's also hurt. So what we call the elite tight ends, we might not call them elite tight ends anymore. Kyle Pitts, we talked about him earlier. He's doing nothing this year. So when it comes to tight ends, it's really, if you miss out on the top three guys, just get one late. And in a lot of my leagues, I have guys like Gerald Everett. Go pick up Gerald Everett. If he's still, for some reason, out there on in your waivers, you pick up Gerald Everett. You pick up Logan Thomas. He's getting healthy right now. He scored a touchdown on Sunday. I see more touchdowns coming his way, especially if Carson Wentz is going to continue to sling touchdowns. Carson Wentz is on pace for over 40 touchdowns, which I doubt. He might be like around 30, 32 by the time the year is over, just based off of how this team is built right now. So you can see Logan Thomas catching maybe 7 touchdowns this season. So as long as tight ends get touchdowns, they become so relevant in fantasy. So Logan Thomas is a name out there. Gerald Everett is a name out there. Irv Smith, he caught a touchdown last night. He's healthy. He's going to be a guy that Kirk Cousins is going to rely on. It seems to be Justin Jefferson, then Irv Smith, or Justin Jefferson, then everybody else. So that doesn't really matter who's all after Justin Jefferson. But Irv Smith is a name to pick up that is out there. Sorry, guys. Evan Ingram is another one. He's a cheap option. It's a cheap option. You got to love cheap options. He's available. Mike Gesicki, another one. He's available. We all kind of wondered, can the Dolphins offense support multiple wide receivers, a running back, and maybe a tight end? This week, they supported all of that. They supported all of that outside of Raheem Mostert not getting to double figures, but he was still very effective when he did play. So Mike Gesicki, cheap option. He's available. You can scoop him if he scores. If these tight ends score, you're in great position. So with the way that it's set up, they're not going to get a lot of targets, yards. But if they do score that touchdown, let's say they score a touchdown and then they get 2 receptions and a few yards here and there, that's 10 points. What is good? What is good? Bonita Roche, appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. Glad to have you on. We're just talking fantasy football. We're in the tight end groups right now. Another super, super cheap option is Tyler Conklin. He's going to be available for Joe Flacco, even for Zach Wilson. I loved Conklin better with a guy like Zach Wilson because these young quarterbacks normally lean on their tight ends for help, right, for that security blanket. But Joe Flacco is a veteran. He understands the game. So these are 5 tight ends that I gave you guys. Logan Thomas, Irv Smith, Evan Ingram, Mike Gesicki, Tyler Conklin, and a bonus, Gerald Everett, which shouldn't be available in your leagues, but if he is, you want to go ahead and snag him. Now, when it comes to DSTs, it really doesn't even matter. Last week, I thought that the Browns were going to dominate the Jets and I get a whole bunch of points. I was wrong. That Browns and Jets game went back and forth. Bonita says, I'm very excited about the new football season. I am too, man. I am so excited for the season because now not only do I get to talk football, I get to talk fantasy football as well. So it's just been a blessing that football is back. It's just one of those things that I just love to talk about. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have some time. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go ahead and do some NFL recap. And we'll go from there. Bonita says, my teams are the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots. That's pretty interesting. So when the Eagles played the Patriots a few years ago, who was you pulling for? Were you pulling for the Eagles or were you pulling for the Patriots? As a Washington Commanders fan, I can't stand the Eagles, but I would say that the Eagles do have the best team after 2 weeks in that NFC East. And I'm looking forward to playing your Eagles on Sunday. That's going to be an interesting game. Commanders versus the Eagles. Can't wait for that. So Kansas City could be a good DST to stream this week versus the Indianapolis Colts. Matt Ryan has been bad, especially if Michael Pittman doesn't play. You want to go ahead and fire up that Kansas City defense. You got the Chargers versus the Jags. You got the Cowboys or the Giants. They play each other. Both teams are mediocre. Both teams are bad. So maybe the Cowboys defense play well. Maybe the Giants defense plays well. I don't know. But like I said, when it comes to DSTs, man, just take a chance on somebody. Somebody will produce. Bonita says, I was just excited to see them at each other. I feel you. In the NBA, I do have 2 teams. I am a Lakers fan and I'm a Wizards fan. So I kind of get what you're saying. But when it comes to football, I just have one team. I think football is one of those sports for me. It's just hard to have multiple teams. But those sports for me. Sorry about that. I was trying to navigate through my screens and messed up. So let's talk about some of these games that we saw on Sunday. Let's kick this thing off between the Browns and the Jets. The Browns should have won this game. The Browns should have won this game. And the most interesting thing about that Browns game is that all the Browns had to do when Nick Chubb had the ball, had he downed the ball, they would have ran out the clock, game over. Right? I think it was like 1 minute 50 something seconds left. But Nick Chubb decided to go ahead and get us fantasy fans that one more touchdown. They gave him 3 touchdowns. I appreciate you, Nick Chubb. Appreciate you, my bro. So he gets that touchdown, and Joe Flacco throws a wide open Corey Davis open, scores touchdown, right? Gets the ball back. Somehow the Jets get the ball back. They go all the way down and throws another touchdown to my guy, my main man, Garrett Wilson, and they win the game. So that Browns game was real interesting. I'm shocked that the Browns lost the game, but then I think that Kareem Hunt got hurt a little bit. Bonita says, I'll also watch the Commanders and St. Louis Rams. Okay. I feel you. I remember the Rams, the days of the St. Louis Rams. Those were good. Those were good days. But yeah, that Browns and Jets game, it was good. And who knew that two teams that, you don't really care about the Browns because there is no Amari Cooper. I mean, there's no Deshaun Watson right now. But Amari Cooper went off with Brissett. So it's any given Sunday. You don't know who's going to come out and play well. It's just amazing to me how these things happen. All right. Let me go to the next game. So let's talk about the Commanders and the Lions. The Commanders were terrible to start the game. I think they were losing 22-0, and no matter what the Commanders were able to do, everything went wrong. Everything went wrong with the Commanders. Bonita says, my favorite rivalries are Washington Commanders versus Dallas Cowboys, which my mother and I watch every year together. That is the biggest rivalry ever. Those days when it was the Washington Redskins and the Dallas Cowboys, those Thanksgiving games, those were legendary. Now we have to get with something new. Commanders versus Cowboys is still a legendary matchup. I love my Commanders, and I love every time when we play the Dallas Cowboys. It's like one of the biggest rivalries in all of football. Well, back to this Commanders game from this past week. They were down 22-0. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, right? Jared Goff was on fire. DeAndre Swift was making plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown was making plays. Those two guys alone were phenomenal and unstoppable. Then they started adding all these other guys on the Lions. The Lions offense were looking like the greatest show on turf. And it was just crazy to me. I was kind of mad. I was kind of pissed off. Washington, that second half just started scoring. It felt like every time they touched the ball, they were going to score. There was a point in the game where Washington went for a 2-point conversion so that way they can cut the game to 6 instead of just kicking the extra point and then making it a 7-point game. They don't do that. They eventually scored a touchdown, missed the extra point. I mean, the whole thing was just a mess, and they ended up losing to the Lions 36-27. Carson Wentz had a good game, but the defense was so bad. Don't really understand why the Commanders' defense is so bad, but it just is what it is. What's good, A&J Films? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please share, please subscribe. A&J Film says, do you think I should trade Eckler for Debo and Tua? Man, this is a tough one because I still think that Austin Eckler has the potential to be the number 1 running back in football this year. In fantasy, I think that Austin Eckler has the upside to catch 100 receptions this year. Austin Eckler to me is safer than Debo. Austin Eckler to me is safer than Tua. Tua just had, this amazing game. There should be other quarterbacks available in your league. If this is a dynasty trade, then I make it. If this is a redraft trade, I don't make it. I'll say keep Austin Eckler. Bonita says, then my other favorite rivalry is the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. That's another good one. Especially around Thanksgiving time. The Bills and the Dolphins is another good one too. I think the Bills and the Dolphins this year is going to be more of a rivalry than it's ever been in years past. And I say this because the Bills have had Josh Allen last few years, right? He's up and coming. Miami hasn't really had a quarterback until now. Recently, they have Tua. So if Tua continues at this pace, if this is the new Tua, we're going to be enjoying what we're seeing out of Miami and Buffalo. So I definitely do love that a lot. Let's see. Let's go to the next game. Next game, you have the LA Chargers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a Thursday night game. It kind of went back and forth. The game was close until that interception, that 99-yard interception, pick six thrown by Justin Herbert. I know he felt sick, especially after having a great game with Keenan Allen. He had 334 yards passing, 3 touchdowns. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was solid with 8 carries at 74 yards. Mike Williams was making contested catches left and right. He had 8 receptions for 113 and a touchdown. But it wasn't enough as the Chargers fell short, losing this game to the Chiefs at home. Going to Arrowhead, it's hard to go to Arrowhead and win. The Chiefs are a legit team, and I think this is going to be a year where you see the Chiefs play better than they possibly ever had because it seems more balanced. Like without a Tyreek Hill, Mahomes was forced to pass the ball around, not just to Kelsey. Kelsey didn't even have a good game, but Mahomes was able to find guys all over. Also, let's talk about the Buccaneers and Saints. The game where Mike Evans got into that little scuffle and Mike Evans ended up being, booted from the game. When you look at Jameis Winston, comes in as that vet, he threw some picks. I believe it was 2 or 3 picks. Let me go and make sure. He threw 3 interceptions. So Jameis Winston throwing 3 interceptions is not going to be good for anybody, not fantasy, not the Saints. Mark Ingram had a decent game, 10 carries, 60 yards. Chris Olave stepped into his own, 5 receptions, 80 yards as a rookie, one of the top rookies in the draft. Michael Thomas seems to be back, 6 receptions, 65 yards, and a score. But you look at the other side. Tom Brady struggled. He had 190 yards passing, 1 touchdown. And you can say, well, you didn't need Tom Brady to do a lot. But Leonard Fournette, he had 24 carries for 65 yards. So the running game wasn't there. The passing game wasn't there. It was that Buccaneers defense that carried them to a victory. Like their receivers just looked bad. I mean, everything that could go wrong went wrong for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they were still able to win this game. Remember, Tom Brady also lost a fumble in this game, but yet they were still able to win this game. Bonita says the NFC East always have the best game. I hope so. This year, I'm not excited about the NFC East. I love my Commanders, but I thought we were going to be better. Struggled against the Lions. Then you have Dallas losing Dak Prescott, so that makes them a weaker team. Then you also have the Giants that are playing lights out right now, especially defensively. You have the Eagles that are playing all around good ball right now. So I wouldn't say that the NFC East looks good on paper. Let's see what they look like versus more superior teams. Let's see what the NFC East looks like when the Eagles and the Commanders compete against each other come next Sunday. Then I can kind of say, okay, I can say this or I can say that. I'm either going to come out that game saying the Eagles are legit, right? And my Commanders are trash. Or I can say, you know what? My Commanders, man, we're going to be okay. And I still say the Eagles are pretty good. I think the Eagles are a solid team. I think they're the best team in the NFC East right now. From top to bottom, offense, defense, wide receivers, corners. They got everything it takes right now, currently. We move on to the next game, which was the New England Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a very close game. You know that not Tom Brady. When you think of the New England Patriots, you always think Tom Brady. Bill Belichick doesn't really start a season 0-2. Can't remember the last time Belichick started a season 0-2. Mac Jones had a decent game, 225 yards, 252 yards, one touchdown, one interception. The running game was there. Damian Harris, welcome to the NFL, 15 carries, 71 yards and a score, right? Nelson Aguilar, 6 receptions, 110 and a touchdown. Jacoby Myers, 9 receptions, 95 yards. We talked about that in the first half of the show with the fantasy stuff. Mitch Trubisky's not it. Kenny Pickett is going to be the quarterback very, very soon. Trubisky struggled, 168 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Najee Harris, he's been terrible this year. Then you can blame it on the offensive line, but also you can blame it on Big Ben feeding Najee Harris with all these receptions. That's what kind of made Najee, right? Although Najee did have 5 receptions for 40 yards, without the receptions, it's like Najee's not being effective as an actual running back, hitting the holes, getting the creases, creating, being that playmaker. He's not doing it on the ground. Deontay Johnson, solid, but this Pittsburgh's offense is so bad. Defense was there. Defense did a good thing, led by Miles Jack, 13 tackles. 5 of those were solo. So defense is there. They held the Patriots to 17 points. So it's not a defensive issue, it's an offensive issue. And can Kenny Pickett actually give them more than what Trubisky's giving them right now? That's what it all boils down to. Now we move on to the next game. You got the Colts and the Jags. And I don't feel sorry for the Colts. They tried to bash Carson Wentz, and it is what it is. It is what it is. They've gotten what they wanted, which was Matt Ryan. That was their plan their plan letter A, right? And he's supposed to be better than Carson Wentz. He's supposed to be this. He's supposed to be that, right? Yes, Michael Pittman was missing in this game. Yes, Alec Pierce was missing in this game. But it was more of a Matt Ryan thing. It wasn't even what the receivers were doing. Matt Ryan made bad decisions after bad decisions after bad decisions. He threw the ball 30 times. He completed 16 of them. He had no touchdowns, but he also had 3 interceptions. He was sacked 5 times and lost 31 yards on those sacks. Jonathan Taylor couldn't get anything going on the ground. They had the box stacked. He had 9 carries for 54 yards. And these 54 yards came more so later on in the game, more so in the second half. So Jonathan Taylor was bottled up until late. Then receiver-wise, you had Ashton Doolin, you had all these different guys that produced a little bit, but you get shut out by the Jags. We're talking about the Jags, one of the worst teams in the NFL last year. So Trevor Lawrence was looking great out there, 235 yards passing, 2 scores. James Robinson is out here running the ball. He wasn't effective on the ground, 23 carries, 64 yards, not great. But he did add a rushing touchdown. Christian Kirk, he's showing that he was worth that money. 6 receptions, 78 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. So Christian Kirk looks good. You know what I'm saying? The Jags looked good. The defense looked dominant. It's either the Jags defense is so good or it's the Colts offense is so bad. I just don't know which one it is. Bonita says, it's a divide household for me. I love the Eagles. My mother loves the Cowboys. Oh, yeah. So y'all just get together and watch those Eagles-Cowboy games. I know that's a fun household when those games are on and popping. So I get it. Let's go ahead and get to one of the better games of the day. And it was that Miami versus Baltimore game where Tua had 469 yards passing, 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Not only that, they had Tyreek Hill, number 1, who was Tyreek Hill with 11 receptions, 190 yards, and 2 scores. And then Tyreek Hill, number 2, a.k.a. Jalen Waddle, with 11 receptions, 171 yards, and 2 scores. The game-winning score by Jalen Waddle. For those of us who play fantasy football, we were wondering, can Tua Tagovailoa be able to support 2 wide receivers of this magnitude? Jalen Waddle is the real deal. We know who Tyreek Hill is, but Jalen Waddle is the real deal. And they both are similar in the way that they play. Gesicki scores a touchdown. And he threw another touchdown to some guy named River Craycraft. What a name. Craycraft. It's crazy. He's cray. But anyways, Raheem Mostert pitched in. So that offense was humming. It was just more than Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They were just the highlights, right? So Chase Edmonds has taken the backseat to Raheem Mostert. We talked about it early on in the show. But Lamar Jackson was Lamar Jackson, man. He's back. He had 318 yards passing. He had 3 passing touchdowns. Then you had that long 79-yard rushing touchdown. He had 9 carries, 119 yards, and the score. If this continues, you're going to have to pay Lamar Jackson whatever he wants. He was passing the ball to Andrews, 9 receptions, 104 yards, and a score. Rashad Bateman, 4 receptions, 108 yards, and a score. This offense looks good. Isaiah Likely's coming into his own. This Ravens offense is going to be able to score from all facets. Monique, what's good? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Please like, please subscribe, and please share. Monique says, hey, Manny, I need a little help with my wide receiver too. Mike Evans is out this week. I have Julio and Gage on. So what I would do is with Evans being out, right, I think that Gage is the next guy that's going to get all the targets on that team. After Gage, then you go Julio, okay? So go Gage, go Julio. You can go back and replay the show. I actually dropped some names of wide receivers that you can go ahead and put in the claim for. If Jahan Dotson is out there, Curtis Samuel, Garrett Wilson, Michael Gallup, Jacoby Myers. Talk about Russell Gage as well, and Greg Dortch. Some of these guys are cheaper options to go ahead and grab. Down south, man, what's good, man? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. It says, I'm just going to be honest. Washington front office doesn't know anything about football. The only thing that they care about is getting them ticket sales and filling on women. Hey, I cannot argue with your statement. Yeah, Washington is pretty terrible right now. Bonita says the Vikings hiccuped when they were my team. Man, Bonita, man, how many teams you got, girl? You got like 4 teams right now. It's all good, all good. Monique says, on my bench, I have Winfro, Devontae Smith. Should I drop Russell Gage for another wide receiver like Sammy Watkins, Duvernay, or Sterling Shepard? If I'm you, I'm not going to drop Russell Gage. I think that Russell Gage is going to be the best wide receiver on Tampa if Mike Evans misses the game. Says, on my bench, you have Winfro and Devontae Smith. So, yeah, you should be fine. You should be fine with Devontae Smith or Winfro. But I would go Devontae Smith over Renfro if I was looking for a person to start. I'll stay away from Sammy Watkins. Duvernay is okay. And Sterling Shepard could be a thing, but I would possibly drop maybe one of your lesser running backs before I drop some of these other guys that you're saying that drop. Down south says the Eagles got rid of Chip Kelly because he wasn't doing what he's supposed to do. He got rid of their last coach and then took them to the Super Bowl. The last coach took them to the Super Bowl, and now they hired some new coaches. Now they're 2-0. Sometimes you got to make a coaching change, but it's not always about the coach. Sometimes it's about the culture, and there's different factors to why a team may or may not succeed. Bonita says, played my team. Down south says, because the Eagles front office are no football. Hey, Greg, man, what's good, man? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Says, I got offered Mike Evans, Kittle, ETN for Kamara, Robinson, Elijah Moore, PPR redraft. That's interesting. I like it. I like Mike Evans. I don't like Kittle, but Kittle with Jimmy G is going to be back to what Kittle was last year. The only thing with Kittle is the health. And then ETN has some upside. We just have not seen it yet. Kamara, we don't know with the injury he's dealing with right now, with the suspension, we really don't know what we got out of Kamara. Allen Robinson. Yeah, I would say make the deal. Make the deal. Let go of Kamara, Robinson, and Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore's stock is down right now. Garrett Wilson over Elijah Moore. Allen Robinson is up and down. Mike Evans is legit. He's as legit as they come. And then you get him Kittle. So, yeah, I love that trade for you, actually. Down south says, there's no way Washington D-line shoots out slow and can't get no sacks. So how do you expect them to chase a quarterback like Jalen Hurts? Here's my thing with this defensive line for Washington. They talked all this crap about it being a coaching thing, right? Remember they fired that other coach, right? Defensive line coach, and said, oh, it's the defensive coach problem and this and that. It's a Jack Del Rio problem. Jack Del Rio needs to go. Jack Del Rio is not a good coach. He has his defense, and he has his defense playing like they're mediocre. This defense has a lot of talent, and I don't understand why They're not producing at a high level. Yeah, Jalen Hurts is going to run around this team. They already struggle with running quarterbacks. And then when you have that linebacker play and then the secondary, you couldn't stop Amon St. Brown or Swift. Jalen Hurts is going to run circles versus that team. I'm not even excited about that game, to be honest. Says, I would say the same about Cedric Benson when he played for Chicago. The culture was a little off. Okay. It says also how about them Cowboys? Go Cowboys, baby. Oh, come on, man. Get out of here with all that cowgirl talk, man. Come on. B Dubs, man, what's good, man? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. He says, who should I drop for Garrett Wilson? 10-team, 0.5 PPR. You got Cordero, you got Thielen, you got Brian Johnson, you got Burks, you got Wilson. How much fab budget? To be honest, Garrett Wilson is going to be a thing. I would spend 20% of your fab budget. Really, 25% might get it done. But yeah, you have to spend at least 20 to 25% to go ahead and grab a Garrett Wilson. It says a guy dropped 30 on Jahan Dotson last week. So don't understand that last part, but definitely you're gonna need at least 20 to 25% of your fab budget to go ahead and pick up Garrett Wilson. So we're talking about this Baltimore game and this Miami game. Baltimore looks good this year. Miami looks really good, but I don't think this is going to be the Miami that we're going to get on a consistent basis, man. Trey Lance gets hurt. Jimmy G comes back in, saves the day, gets the 49ers to 1-1. He wasn't spectacular, but he did his job. He had guys like Brandon Ayuk and Debo catching passes, being targeted, crispy passes. Jeff Wilson ran the ball well, 18 carries for 84 yards. They're going to run the ball well. They're going to play defense. And then they played the lowly Seattle Seahawks. But a guy like Tyler Lockett was able to get love in this game, 9 receptions for 107 yards. So that was good for them. At any time. That was good for them. I'm going to run through these last few games. I got like 5 more minutes left on the stream. Then I got to go work out, man. I got to go get my swole on. The Rams versus ATL. This game was too close for comfort. I really don't know what is going on with the Rams this year. The Rams look terrible. Stafford might lead the league in interceptions once again. 272 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Running game was non-existent for the Rams. Akers had 15 carries for 44 yards. Darrell Henderson had 10 carries for 47 yards in the score. So he did have a better game than Akers. Cooper Kupp was Cooper Kupp. He did Cooper Kupp-like things. 11 receptions, 108 yards, receiving 2 touchdowns. Shout out to Tyler Higbee, man. 7 receptions, 71 yards. Didn't see that coming. Allen Robinson looked good for receptions for 53 yards in the score. And then on the flip side, Drake London was amazing. 8 receptions, 86 yards in the score. But outside of that, ATL's offense don't really have much. But for some odd reason, these guys were able to put up 27 points. Looking at it, Mariota had 2 touchdowns. That means that the rest of these other touchdowns came from the defensive side of the ball. Possibly came from special teams. And honestly, I really don't even care about this game. But, hey, ATL tried to pull it off. They tried to pull off an upset, and then they fell short. Denver beating Houston 16-9. Russell Wilson still looks pretty bad. Or I think he had a better game. 219 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Javonte Williams ran the ball well, 15 for 75. Cortland Sutton, 7 for 21. But overall, it should be a better game versus the lowly Houston Texans. So just one of those things. Monique says, thanks, Mandy. Great advice. Just sub. Appreciate you, Monique, man. That's love, man. That's love. Also, how do you feel about Josh Jacobs as a RB2? I started Patterson last week, and he was bad. See, Patterson is going to be up and down.
3-step drop. Mills, under pressure, throws to the...
Sorry about that, guys. Patterson is going to be up and down all year. He's going to have good games, bad games. I do like Josh Jacobs a lot, but he has not produced as much as we thought he would, okay? Henderson is going to be up and down. Henderson has had 2 good games back-to-back, but Akers is now getting more carries, so it's kind of scary. So I would go Josh Jacobs over Henderson, but you can't go wrong with Jacobs or Henderson. I think both guys will be like around that same maybe about 15 carries, about 60, 70 yards in the score. That's what I see out of these two until Jacobs breaks out. Jacobs is not fitting in well with that offense this year for whatever the reason is. Singletary is a guy that I like, but he's just not getting the volume that you want to see out of Singletary. Speaking of Singletary, let me highlight this Titans game from last night. Devin Singletary had, 6 carries for 19 yards. So you cannot rely on that, right? Then you look at Singletary in the past game, 2 receptions for 2 yards. So you don't know what you're going to get out of Singletary, right? James Cook had 11 carries for 53 yards. They tried to make James Cook a thing. Although the game, got out of hand and, they put all the backups in, it's still Josh Allen's team. Josh Allen is the best running back on the Bills. So I would say go Josh Jacobs and confidently go Josh Jacobs. Out of all the options that you gave me, I would definitely go Josh Jacobs for sure. Stephon Diggs was amazing, man. 12 receptions, 148 yards, 3 touchdowns versus the Titans. The Titans couldn't even guard a little kid yesterday. I mean, it was crazy. They could have put me in a game, and I would have had maybe a touchdown. And I'm saying maybe. I mean, it was just that bad. Tannehill, 2 interceptions. Malik Willis came in. He did no better than Tannehill. Titans are in trouble. A team that went from the best team in football last year record-wise to now struggling. So, guys, man, this is all the time I got for you guys today. Once again, this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. This is your guy, Manny. I'll be doing this more. You guys catch me next week for more Waiver Wire show, more Waiver Wire topics. But I'll be doing my starts and sits on Thursday night. So you guys tune in around the same time between 4 and 5. I will get on, do about an hour stream, giving you guys advice on who to start. And absolutely, hey, Bonita, nice meeting you. Hopefully you join me on Thursday for another live stream. I appreciate you guys, and I will catch you guys on that next stream. Y'all be blessed.